Riley took my hand and guided me to the bedroom, holding on tight as if she had always been guiding my husband here. After a moment of silence while the door clicked shut, her lips suddenly found mine and drew me into her completely before I could even consider that what I was about to hear was based on a real viewer's experience, but I went beyond the bounds to create something you won't soon forget. If you're here, join me by clicking subscribe, and let's begin. Jake's fingers made languid circles on my hip while I was still gasping for air, feeling heavy and warm against the sheets. His touch never seemed to be ready to let go, so I stretched into the pillow while the aftershock continued to hum through me. His ability to tear me apart even after all these years was precisely what I needed, and I whispered in a satisfied voice. Jake's lips grazed my shoulder as he laughed, and I turned to see the slack delight in his face. He appeared to be just as devastated, and I felt his hand travel lower, taunting me. I shuddered and pressed back against him, hungry. Heat was already starting to rise between us as I tormented you, and his voice sunk lower every time. However, as I was thinking about something, he whispered, and I moaned, and I believed you were about to leave again. I startled, remembering my new coworker Riley, the one you recently started working with. But first, his fingers stroked languid, absent-minded patterns against my tummy. Oh, I will. I turned and raised an eyebrow when his hand drifted to a lower voice, casually saying, "She's into women openly." Jake smirked, and I saw how you had been observing that woman at the bar the previous weekend. I scoffed. Oh, you were. His exhale carried amusement, and I thought Riley would notice as well. I rolled my eyes, but my stomach tightened. Jake, just because I look doesn't imply anything. I let out a quiet breath. Perhaps I've had brief thoughts in the past, but that was all they were. Jake's grip tightened slightly as his thumb brushed my skin, and if it wasn't just a thought, I parted my lips, but nothing came out. I hadn't given it much thought before passing curiosities, maybe vague thoughts that never lingered, but now he was watching me as if he just unlocked something I didn't even realize was there. I don't know, I admitted. It's not like I've ever really thought about doing something like that. Jake's expression didn't waver, so I assumed you were considering it. I swallowed abruptly, too aware of the heat between us, and his fingers moved slowly and deliberately lower. I'm just saying if you ever wanted to explore that curiosity. Riley might be the ideal guy to help me catch my breath, because Jake wasn't pressuring me or expecting anything. He was just offering the chance. He kissed me gently on the shoulder and said, "Let's invite her to dinner tomorrow." I stiffened dinner, nothing serious, just to meet her. His fingers traced slow, idle circles against my hip without applying pressure. This was absurd. It wasn't me, but the idea wasn't just his anymore. It was mine, too. I don't know. Jake's lips touched my neck, sending a slow chill down my spine. I exhaled. Fine, and muttered, "Just dinner." I rolled my eyes, good girl, but before I could turn around, he threw me onto my back, crushing me into the mattress with his weight. His lips then whispered, "Since I made you agree to that, I should probably make it up to you, right?" I let out a cry as his lips moved lower, tauntingly lingering on my flesh as heat pooled deeply once more. Around 2 baby mornings, Jake's voice was a low growl. Warmth permeated my body as I stretched beneath the sheets, my muscles aching from the last night when Jake made sure I would feel him. A low laugh pierced the fog, and I blinked just enough to see him standing at the edge of the bed, already dressed, tie undone, sleeves rolled, and watching me with that smug little smirk. "Yeah, feeling it, huh?" he asked, watching me. With a groan, I buried my face in the cushion and felt the heat radiate through me. Jake teased me by stroking my hip with his fingertips, saying, "Sleep in, because you'll need it." I looked up at him, still groggy from sleep, but all of a sudden I remembered the invitation, the conversation, and the fact that Riley was arriving tonight. "You're really doing this?" I asked. Jake bent down and grazed my lips as I said slowly and deliberately, "Dinner's at 7. "She's thrilled to meet you," he said, pulling back just enough to lower his voice. The door clicked shut, and I told myself that I wouldn't overthink it, but as soon as he left, the hours blurred together, and my hands were moving from task to task. I straightened things that didn't need to be straightened, cleaned the counters, and checked my phone more times than I'd like to admit, but the steady, slow hum beneath my skin never went away. By late afternoon, the house was filled with the smell of simmering garlic and herbs, and I leaned against the counter, drumming absently, until I caught a glimpse of myself in the dark oven glass. It was too casual, too obvious, and I ran a hand through my hair, smoothing it down before messing it up again. I hadn't intended to wear the red blouse, but as I pulled it over my head, the fabric felt cool against my skin. The neckline dipped just enough to make me question myself. I caught my reflection once more, and this time I realized it was the shift. The anticipation was killing me, and when the knock finally came, I caught my breath, wiped my palms on my jeans, and opened the door. Riley stood there leaning against the frame as if she had her black pants and top on all the time in the world. Her smirk was effortless and yet felt like a challenge. Her eyes went over me without hurrying before settling on mine and asking, "Well, aren't you adorable?" I started to respond, but nothing came out. Dinner had just started, yet I could already sense the gradual change in the type of air that made my skin tingle. Riley sat across from me with ease, one arm resting on the back of her chair and fingers playing with the rim of her wine glass. She wasn't really doing anything, but I couldn't help but stare. "Did you cook all this?" she asked, tilting her head slightly. I nodded, holding my fork, and she grinned, knowing that it was impressive. Jake leaned back and watched in silence. He wasn't saying anything, but I could sense that he was taking it all in. Riley didn't look at him at first. Instead, she kept her eyes fixed on me with methodical slowness. Then, as if in a moment, she looked at him and asked, "You always this quiet?" Jake swirled his drink with a sly smile. Riley murmured in agreement as she turned back to face me, simply taking in the scenery. Her voice sunk smoothly as her fingers touched the bottom of her glass, circling slowly. "Have you ever been curious, or is this new?" I tightened my hold on my glass. The stem feels cold to the touch. She was too sure, too confident, and worst of all, she wasn't mistaken. She got up from her chair slowly, as if she was giving me time to think. And by the time I did, she was standing next to me, standing close enough that I could see the slightest hint of something warm on her skin. Vanilla, perhaps, or something sweeter. Her fingers brushing the curve of my jaw, slightly tilting my face. "You nervous?" I pressed my lips together, my heart slamming against my ribs. Riley grinned and tilted her head, and then she kissed me without hesitation. Before my mind could protest, heat shot through me, and I thought I might pull away, but I didn't. Riley took my hand and steered me toward the bedroom, her grip firm and certain, as if this had never been a question, but an inevitable one. The door clicked shut, and then she was on me. The fabric slipped from my shoulders, and before I could realize the loss, she led me back onto the bed. The air between us thickened, humming with something unsaid, and her hands purposefully explored her lips after each touch, bringing out the anticipation. She lingered just long enough for me to feel every shift, every pause, and every place. My breath caught as her fingers traced over my stomach, teasingly exploring, but always just shy of where I wanted her. My head tipped back. My body reacted to the slow tremor she caused. I barely knew how long she stayed there. Seconds, minutes, an eternity. But then, just as I was about to break, she pulled away with a soft sound that left me stunned. She moved back up, her breath warm against my skin, her lips pressing into mine again, the taste of her lingering between us, a reminder of what she'd just done and what was still to come. A sharp inhale, a pulse of warmth rolling low in my stomach, my fingers curling into the sheets, grasping for something steady as the intensity increased. My brain whirled. Riley giggled and said, "I could do that all night long." I gulped hard, still gasping for air. "So why did you stop?" She simply grinned and shifted back a little, and the languid, carefree movement of her hands over her own skin made me feel hotter again. Her top came off, and then her jeans' golden skin, smooth curves, and the soft ripple of muscle beneath my pulse kicked up as my hands lifted, first hesitant, then bolder, tracing the dip of her waist, the warmth of her skin, the subtle tension just beneath the surface. She hummed, tilting her head slightly. It was your turn, and she led me closer, her fingers weaving through my hair, keeping me motionless with nothing but her presence. I hesitated for a split second before giving in, and her breath hitched her entire body in response to me. She was seductive in the way she moved, pulled me in, and allowed me to experience every change in the minute before I felt him. Her fingers tightened slightly in my hair, and she let out a deep exhale. Jake, I hadn't known how long he had been watching or that he was getting closer, but suddenly I could feel his warmth and his solid grounding behind me. His hand slid slowly up my back, stroking over my skin with quiet assurance. He asked a silent question before a shift pulled me closer to him and my breath hitched. While I was still lost in Riley and still moving with her, I didn't know what to hold on to. Her hands guided me, her body pressed into mine. His hold sure led me into his rhythm, and I was caught between them. His hands found my waist, his hold firm, keeping me steady as everything between us built higher, a steady consuming presence behind me. Two distinct types of indulgence. Two distinct forms of control, each unwinding me in their own unique manner. Jake's hold tightened, stabilizing me as my hands pressed into Riley's hips, causing my breath to become erratic. My entire body locked in as the intensity increased every second, pulling me deeper under with each stretch. Then I unraveled, and a wave of warmth swept over me, cresting, then bursting into something I couldn't contain. I was unsure of whose name I was gasping at, and I wasn't sure if I was still moving or if they were moving me. The last thing I felt was Jake's breath against my skin and Riley's fingers still entangled in my hair. Everything else vanished as soon as I opened my eyes, and I realized that last night wasn't enough because I woke up hungry. Not just a fleeting desire, but something more profound and pressing. All I knew was the weightlessness, the sensation taking over me completely, and I collapsed forward. Riley was tangled in the sheets next to me, breathing slowly and steadily, her lips slightly parted, her skin warm and flushed in the early morning light. I wanted her awake. I wanted more. So I pulled the covers back and leaned over her, drawing her into me. She stirred with a slumbery hum that was caught between dreams and reality. But I didn't slow. Instead, my fingers threaded through her hair, my lips teasing against hers, and she exhaled sharply, a soft, breathy laugh against my lips. "Well, good morning." My lips traced a path down her throat over her collarbone, my nails gliding lightly over her stomach, my hands gripping, holding her exactly where I wanted her, and then I let the moment consume us. I didn't respond. Instead, I bit down, marking the moment, and making her feel how much I wanted this. Riley's whole body tensed beneath me as her breath caught. She made a grab for me. Every shift was a silent plea for more, and I met her there, strengthening our connection. Then, as the tension increased, I slowed, and a sound between frustration and anticipation left her lips, but I was already moving up, positioning myself exactly where I wanted to be. Her fingers slipping into my hair, urging me closer, and I didn't resist her body's response. Her breath broke apart as I lost myself in her. Riley blinked up at me, still in a daze, and I saw her split her lips, move over her, and let the moment take over. Her hands found my hips, supporting me and letting me follow my lead, but I set the rhythm, and as I allowed myself to lose myself in it, I sensed his warmth and presence behind me. Jake was still half asleep and didn't know what was waking him up to, but I needed him to wake up, so I turned my head and said in a quiet, forceful voice, "Wake up, I need you." His breath caught as his body stiffened, and then he made a deliberate movement. His hands reached my waist, and he touched me without hesitation. He then drew me in closer, his presence totally encircling me, and I felt a deep shiver. My body was reacting to both of them automatically, and I gasped as the overpowering sensation hit me. I thought it was just curiosity, but curiosity doesn't make you question anything. Everything doesn't change you. This was something else. Tell me, should some fantasies stay fantasies, or is it always worth finding out? Before you go, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this. I'll see you in the next post. My fingers twisting in Riley's hair, my breath breaking, and in that moment wrapped in Jake's hold, lost in Riley's touch, feeling everything at once.